Good afternoon, beloved ones.
Good afternoon.
So lovely to see you. You have nothing better to do on a Sunday after church? Well, I hope it will be worth your while. It's a joy to be here. If you're new to Mile High, you got brought here by somebody. I'm Roger Teel. Used to be senior minister here. Now I'm allowed to do certain levels of janitorial work under close supervision. But it's a joy to be here and share some thoughts I've got. Now, first of all, I really want to thank our tech team, Rama, Nathan, Mark, and others. They've had a very full day. They start in the wee hours of the a.m. and have been working all the way through, and now it's a new setup and new AV. And so let's give them a hand and thank them for that. Yes. So anyway, I'm glad to be here. And by the way, just one quick commercial. Any of you who are grads of the meditation and prayer retreats, just a reminder that we have an advanced retreat coming up in October 26th through 29. That's registering now. And even before you leave, you can go to the bookstore out here, the Works of Heart store, and Jan has the paperwork. All right? So there it is. Well, thank you for being here. This is entitled Re-Wirement, which is my self-chosen term for retirement, keys to rewirement, and some things I've learned and am in still the process of learning. And this is presented by the Mile High Church Foundation. I'm very proud of the work that this foundation has been doing over 40 years, and especially of late. The foundation has ramped up and is just doing exquisite, powerful work to continue to build the endowments of Mile High Church. And it's such great work and so comforting to those of us who are so in love with this incredible church and the teachings to know that it will have the strength going forward for many generations. So thank you all. How many of you are involved in the Nautilus Society here? Thank you. Those are individuals who within the foundation have declared that they have, in their own chosen way, included the foundation in their estate plans. And that's a beautiful thing. And you're all welcome to do that. It's a lovely sense of a legacy among those who follow you. All right. So I also am involved in the foundation now as a volunteer chairman. And just anything I can do to push forward the work of the foundation is a joy for me to do. And it's growing well, and the prospects for the future are fantastic. So today, this material is in 3 parts. And the first part is some core themes that I'd like to share with you and have you consider. The next are what I've discovered in my own journey to be the phases of this thing called rewirement. And then finally, some lifelines. 10 lifelines, aspects of how to be when you step over that line into that chapter that I think are essential and important. All right? And so there are those phases. I hope there'll be an opportunity for some dialogue at the end. We'll see how that goes. And there are door prizes. Yeah, but you have to stay till the end. You have to stay till, I think. I'm pretty sure that's true. But I also want to welcome those of you who are watching online. And I believe they've got a way for a couple of door prizes for you all. And they're really cool. They are tickets to the upcoming Dan Harris workshop here, a renowned speaker event. He's the author of 10% Happier, the host of an evening news show who had a panic attack on air and went forward to lean into that and learn about his own mental health and enter into the spiritual realms, especially meditation. It's going to be an outstanding event, and we're going to give away pairs of tickets today, both here and online. And there's an opportunity for love offerings as you depart. There'll be a QR code on the last screen, and then lucite containers out in the lobby. All right, what I wanted to ask you to do is sit next to somebody who can be a partner. All right? One person who can be, and maybe it is your partner, I don't know, but a person, and if you can make eye contact. We're going to have some sessions. They won't be long, but they'll be important, I think, to just do a little bit of sharing. All right? So do have a partner. Very, very good. So it was in 2017. Things were going swimmingly. And yet when I would get deeply silent, something in me would say it's time for the big change. It seemed counterintuitive. It seemed outrageous. It seemed unnecessary. I wondered if I was in burnout or something like that. I talked to people I trusted about it, sought help, but nothing changed. Every time I got deeply still, up would come the knowing, you're done with that phase of your life. Now let me pause and suggest that, we all have phases in our lives, and we give ourselves to them. In some respects, the ministry seems to be even more all-embracing, all-enveloping. And it seems even more so that in the ministry, we who are ministers take on that identity and weave it into soul, to ourself. And some other professions are like that as well, to varying degrees. And so it just seemed like, why would I do that? Yes, I'd been a minister for 43 years, but nonetheless, I was finally getting the hang of it. Why would I take that outrageous step? But it would not go away. I resisted it. I struggled. But then finally, I realized that some of the questions I was asking, such as, but what would be next? Those don't get to be answered as you move toward this step. That's why many people don't even go to that step, is they say, I don't know what it would be afterwards, so I'm just not going to go there. But one of the rules I'm going to be giving you is that you got to go there without needing to know what's next. What's next shows up later. It shows up later. And finally, when I got clear about that, and a lot of that was helped by a man I've really come to revere, been to a couple of his conferences, Richard Rohr, a Franciscan priest in Albuquerque. I have no idea how it is that he hasn't been excommunicated, but he's as much a New Thought minister teaching mystic Christianity as any. And I came across his book, Falling Upward. I'd read a number of his books, hung out at his conferences, but I read this, and it talked about a spirituality for the two halves of life. And that's where I realized, my soul is calling for me to step out of something I've confused with my soul and step into a direct experience of the next part of my soul journey. And by the way, they also have a journal with this if you ever care to read this. Thank you, Richard. So finally, I gave in, chose to honor the guidance, and I set up, and none of the staff I've ever worked with would ever be surprised to hear this, I set up a very elaborate one-year plan to carry out this rewirement. Letting various people know, preparing various things, revising the church bylaws, the foundation bylaws, various things I wanted done before I left. And I did that over the course of a year. And then finally, on March 4th of 2019, I marched forth into the unknown and into something that was essential to me in ways I would only begin to understand later and am still exploring. So 4.5 years later, it dawns on me, yes, I've come to understand some things, and I'm still leaning in to a number of things. But I think there's enough to support those of you who might already be, quote, retired, some of you who are considering retirement and might catch on to the idea that I'm just rewiring and living in a more genuine and authentic way, in a new way that is integral to me. Or maybe you're facing a big change. Much of this material, if you're coming to one of those places that is a huge shift, like you're leaving one career and going into something entirely different, or you're fed up, you're tired, you're complete with a certain element of your life, and you're ready to step into the unknown, it's just as good for that as well. All right? So, but first of all, I wanted to talk about some myths of retirement. I love this story about a World War II veteran who finally got his high school diploma when he was 91 years old, because 74 years earlier he had dropped out of school and enlisted. and served in the war. So he got his diploma, and they had interviews, and everybody thought it was great. And one interview asked him, what's next? And the guy said, well, college girls, of course. But what I love about that, always opportunity. Always opportunity. We should never assume that our ceiling is set according to chronology. But what I really love here are some myths about retirement, most especially around our physical beingness. And this is by way of some remixes of some famous songs, which, looking out at the room, most of you will know this. They're of your generation and mine. One by Carly Simon, "You're So Varicose Vein." You know, so there's that aspect. And then there are the Bee Gees. "How can you mend a broken hip?" Sometimes we just assume that's going to happen in retirement. Or Johnny Nash, "I can't see clearly now." Sometimes. Nancy Sinatra, she came up with an incredible song, "These Boots Give Me Arthritis." Yeah. And then the Commodores, "Once, twice, 3 trips to the bathroom." I love that. But I love this by the Beatles off the Sgt. Pepper album. "I get by with a little help from Depends." Oh, I love it. And then do you remember the band The Who? The Who? "Talking About My Medication." Remember that one? Yeah. A few more. The Rolling Stones, they said, "You can't always pee when you want." You know. And then finally, Marvin Gaye. Great song. "I heard it through the grape nuts." Sometimes we think that that's the way it's got to be. It's up to us. It's up to us. So I want to go through and enlist the help of our wonderful guy up in the upper tower up there. Some core themes that I've come to befriend this stage by means of. And the first is, you're never too young or too old. You're never too young or too old. The right time for rewirement, or whatever you choose to call it, is when your soul says so. Regardless of age. Regardless of age. I had an experience when I finally announced this to the congregation of countless folk coming through and saying, "It's the wrong time. You're too young. You're too this. You're too that." And I had very little explanation because I could scarcely understand what was going on within me anyway and what was the great opportunity. But you know, the right time is not when society says so or your peers say so. The right time is when your soul says so. But here's one thing I've learned is that many people wait too long. Many people seem to be on the endurance program of the first half of their life. I've figured out something I can do and make money, and I'm going to squeeze this for every little ounce of juice I can get out of it until my body breaks down, or I get sick and tired of it, or I'm forced out. And I think, well, I guess that's one way to play it out. But what happens where we listen? And when does something deep in us say, "Set me free"? Set me free. Be willing to wander in the unknown and see what evolves within you. Many people wait too long and find that their energy wanes for a quality new phase of life. And if you read Falling Upward, you'll find out that at the soul level, there's a time where a deep richness is available if we can step out of the years of roles and routines that we have played and walk in the unknown for a while. I like this quote from Malcolm Muggeridge that'll come up here. "Few men of action have been able to make a graceful exit at the appropriate time." I think a graceful exit is one that is soul-inspired. Soul-inspired. So that's the first thing. You're never too young, you're never too old, but listen. The soul knows when. Secondly, retirement, I believe, or rewirement, is a time for reclaiming your creative spirit. That's what it's really about. Giving a whole blank palette or a blank canvas to your creative spirit and seeing what it paints, what it produces. There's a passage in the Bible from the book of Joshua that he'll put up now. Now Joshua was old and well advanced in years, and the Lord said to him, "You are old and advanced in years, and there remains much land to be possessed." So yeah, we get chronologically older, our bodies age as we know they shall, and yet the Spirit says, yeah, that's all true, and there's much territory in you to be explored. Much uncharted territories within. So I believe that rewirement is really a time of declaring freedom from the former routines, the former mindsets, perhaps, from well-worn facades and pretenses. It's ultimately stepping beyond old identities and exploring what's fresh and new within that wants to find some space to grow. Space to grow. But here's the thing, please hear this. Many people have the idea that retirement is going to be boring. And it could be that if that's where we create it. You know, we're creating our life both now and when we take these major steps in our life. But to be bored is to retire from life. And what I'm telling you is don't retire from life. Don't retire from life. Anything that is alive is going to be growing. And so whenever we step into another phase like rewirement, we have to be about the agenda of growing, because something not growing is dying. Which is perhaps why those who have no intentionality to lean into this newness and see what's available decline and don't stay on the planet very long, because to be bored is to decline and eventually die. That's not who you are. That's not who you are. You got to find stimulating new things. And for a while, you create some things you enjoy, but more than anything, as I'll talk later on, it's about letting it emerge from within. But don't be like this guy. I'll call up the next quote. Stephen Wright said, "And when I get real bored, I like to drive downtown and get a great parking spot. Then sit in my car and count how many people ask me if I'm leaving." There is more to life for us. Much, much more available than that. Although if you've got nothing else, that's better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. But it's not all there is. We are born of purpose, and we have purpose woven into our very being. Wayne Dyer, blessed Wayne Dyer, a friend of Mile High for many, many, many years, probably spoke here more than any other venue throughout his entire career. He writes, "Everything in the universe," and this is on a slide as well, "everything in the universe has a purpose. Indeed, the invisible intelligence that flows through everything in a purposeful fashion is also flowing through you also." It's also flowing through you. And that's just as true when we decide for a rewirement, a phase shift, a radical, fundamental shift in our life. Purpose is still there to be realized. It may be different, and most likely, and ideally, it will be. But the purpose is there. So there's a third core theme, and I've hinted at it before. Retirement can set you free. Free to be. It can set you free to be. But here's the deal. The biggest obstacle to taking that step is a deeply woven fear of change. And fear of change drives, motivates, and limits many, many lives at various levels of their life expression, not just the level that we're talking about here of a major shift. And yet we think about taking that step and we say, oh my God, I don't want to upset the apple cart of my life. I just got everything put together. You know, I got everything in its right place, and now I'm going to take this big change. Why would I do that? And so many just subconsciously decide to opt for a life of dull routines and sameness rather than leap into change and renewal. So this rewirement is really an opportunity to surrender to a deeper knowing within you and then to think outside the box. And to give the child within, the soul, an opportunity to say, you know, you've done all of this, but what I really love, or what really drives my motors and my engine is, and let it bring that forth, however different it may be. So we have to dare to go for it. Just dare to go for it. Marcia Weeder, and we'll pull up this slide too, she said, one of your most powerful inner resources is your own creativity. Be willing to try on something new and play the game full out. But you know what? You've got to be willing to enter the game not knowing what it is you'll be when it's fulfilled. And so it's a big trust walk. But it's a rich and a wonderful one. So now I ask you to have a partner. So we're going to just quickly, these are going to be short, but we're going to do some of that work. So you got your partner, and if you don't, find somebody who doesn't. Oh, my wife needs a partner. All right. Good. Anybody else? Raise your hand if you need a partner. And these will be brief. But I want to give you a chance to have a moment of thinking. Just turn around, Jenny, and right back. Oh, you got it. Okay. I think there's somebody down here. Oh, right over there. The gentleman right over there on the other aisle. Okay, very good. All right. So be together if you would. So you guys need to relocate and sit next to each other. Oh, no, now, go ahead. Go ahead. Now we've got an interesting dilemma here. Go ahead, right down here. Raise your hand again, Carl. There you go. Okay, go sit by her. Thank you, sir. She's a neat lady, so you're in good shape there. No problem. All right. And if anybody else needs a partner, there's a gentleman down here. Oh, you do. All right, come on, sir, if you'll turn around and look toward the back of the room, right in the same row behind you as that gentleman. Okay, choose person 1 or 2. I like that. The dominators say, you're 2, or you're 1, and I'm 2. All right, you figured out who's person number 1, person number 2. Okay, so both of you, I want you to think of something here. Having heard what I've said, as you consider rewirement, whether you're in it now or contemplating it or contemplating a big life shift of some kind, or you're in the midst, what is an old limiting belief you know you need to give up? Think of that, both of you. What's a limiting belief you know you got to give up that pertains to taking this big step? So become aware of that. An old belief. One that might even tend to try to hold me back. What's an old belief you need to give up? And then on the heels about that, as you become clear about that old belief, what's the belief to replace it? What's the new belief that you can begin to own and energize? So what's the old belief? And then what's its replacement? Okay? Y'all got that? Now here's what I'm going to do. I am going to give each of you 1 minute. Just 1 minute. And I've got this very accurate time clock right here. 1 minute to share both the old idea you know you got to give up and the new one that you know you can replace it with. You'll have a minute, and then I'll call time, and we'll go to the next person, okay? All right, so person 2, you're going to begin. All right, so I'm still ornery in this stage. So person 2, you're on the clock. Old idea I'm letting go, new one I'm replacing it with.
he does and inspires trust in people and gifting them, the work that he does. So the work is a gift, not,
10 seconds.
for me. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you, person 2. All right, it's your turn. Person 1, you're on the clock. Old idea I'm releasing, new one I'm replacing it with.
So it's not my turn, but when people ask me, is Debbie a musician? She's a photographer. You're an artist.
So that's good. I mean, that's might tell you love to. I try not to listen to
10 seconds.
not stay awake.
Okay, great. Fantastic. All right, we're going to do one more round, 1 minute each, then we'll go on. So I'd like each of you to get in touch with a significant life change you've been resisting. What's a life change I've been resisting? It may be an element of rewirement. It could be that you're there and you've been resisting an aspect of it. Could be something you've been thinking about. You're afraid to talk about it, even think about it. It's threatening to explore it, and even more threatening to embrace it and go for it. What's a significant life change you've been resisting? All right. Person 1, you get to go first now. And you've got a minute and you're on the clock. A significant life changing. Go ahead. Okay, thank you, person 1. Person 2, it is your turn to share about the change you've been resisting.
I feel like things are, in a way, are unfolding perfectly for me because this, I feel like I've flirted with my spiritual journey my whole life. Trevor finally college and Course in Miracles, and going, through the different churches to find out, with what was there, and I feel like, I want to thank you for the fact that this is sort of a foundational place for us, and that this is the place where, it would just like to go through and take some classes and dedicate myself more sincerely to an earnest spirituality.
All right, thank you, person 2. All right. We'll have some other opportunities to share, but Let's go on. One thing that's become clear to me is that there have been some phases. There are phases. Some people might articulate them differently, but here's the 6 that I noticed in this journey. The first is the calling. The calling. There comes a time when your soul calls. Now, we either heed and hear the call, or we don't and sweep it aside and attribute it to not enough sleep or something else like that. But there are times, if we are willing, that something within says, it is your time now to go forward. I think the reason a lot of people feel they aren't in touch with their guidance is that they deny it and censor it and sweep it away so frequently. But again, to be still and listen. Be still and know. Because there's a knower in you that far surpasses the wisdom of the thinker, your computer storage center. There's a knower that draws from a vast intelligence, including the wiring and the pattern of your soul. So when it says be still, it's like move out of the din and the gerbil wheel of this thinker mind and listen. Listen from the heart. And hear what you don't know, you don't know. And when we are willing to do that, guidance can come forth, not just about these kinds of changes, but about any and every issue in life. If you're working on a dream in your life, to be still is to give room for this creative power to show you the ways and means that you know not of and allow you to move in masterful ways. The thing is that often what you receive when you become still and know doesn't make sense. That's because it's not a part of the linear intellectual mind. And truly, I think mastery is acknowledging the deeper wisdom within you. That will sometimes argue with, or your intellectual mind will argue with, its direction. And yet you have a sense that it's born of something far wiser, far more intelligent. But it's that whole thing of it doesn't make sense. It seems radical. It seems not the right time. It seems this. It seems this. The knowing comes forth and we start struggling. We start struggling and we argue this call. We argue it away. We come up with reasons why not. Or we start delaying. We hear comments say, well, okay, I get it. But maybe later. Maybe in another year or maybe in another 5 years. And that's why some people do set up camp on Someday I'll, because that's what they constantly chant within themselves. Someday I'll. And they keep pushing that someday out until there's no more someday. This can be such a struck point. But to be in touch with the higher direction of our life does mean that we spend a certain part of our time, quality time, in silence. In silence. And it's not so much waiting to hear anything. It's just attuning to this deeper reservoir of spirit, of knowing, in which it lives within the infinite intelligence. And to be still and open to sense that higher self. And then there will be those times, the more we just do that realizations will come forth. Okay, so we don't go there saying, well, I did that last week a couple of times and nothing happened. So evidently my higher self's on vacation or something like that. No, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle of realizing I've lived on the surface so long, I've forgotten my depths. I want to remember them. And I want to give room in my awareness for my depths, to speak and to guide, or just simply to feel like I'm more deeply rooted and empowered from that deeper truth of me. So the first phase is the calling, and at some point in this rewirement journey, a person will feel the call. And why I put this there is that it sometimes seems sad that the motive for people to take this step is often that the company says, you're out. Or that everybody else that they respect chose that particular age. In other words, the criteria for the decision is based on other people's opinions, society's opinions, rules and regulations. And while some of that has to be honored, I think that's one of the least important dimensions of decision making. To move when we know it's right. That's what's powerful. And that's what can energize us so much. But nonetheless, no matter what, there's the calling, whether it's these outer forces and voices or it's something deeper within. Then the second phase is what I call acceptance. But usually the acceptance, as it did for me, comes at a price. I mean, finally I arrived at acceptance, but boy, did I kick and scream and resist and fight it for a time. But this is arriving at a place of decision. Of finally saying yes. Okay, yes. I may not understand this whole gig, but I'm going to say yes to the call to evolve, even in the face of the uncertainties. Now, the reason a lot of people hesitate and delay getting to yes is that they demand guaranteed plans. I want to know exactly what's going to happen. I want to know what I am to do, how things are going to turn out, how the money's going to flow, how this is going to happen. And there's some room for prudent planning, but when it really comes down to it, you can't have all of these questions answered, okay? So this delay is in demanding to know everything about what this new phase will be like and how it's going to run, how things are going to turn out. We can prepare, but we finally have to go for it. And so, as I have said before, to arrive at this yes, this acceptance is an enormous trust walk. A trust walk. But when you really get down to it, being alive on this planet has always been a trust walk. It's always been that. I've always drawn inspiration from the life of Abram in the Bible. And many of you have heard me share this. Abram, when he was 75, a light bulb goes on and he says to himself, I don't have a son to carry on my lineage. I've got to take care of this. And so Abram prayed to God and said, God, I need a son. And God said, well, maybe, but here's the plan I have for you. What I want you to do is I want you to leave your home and your kin and everything you have. And I want you to go on a journey to a place I will show you later. And then I will, after a time, make of you not only a father, but I'm going to make you the father of great nations. Now, a lot of us would have replied, God, a son would be just fine. That would be enough. But it says in the Bible that Abram agreed to set out to a place he didn't know and to follow that plan. Now imagine that. Something deep within says, I'm going to make of you more than you know. But you got to go to a place. You got to start. You got to accept. You got to say yes. And you got to go. And I'll show you later. Now, in Abram's case, he's my hero. That he actually took his wife and a few of his kin, and he left his father and everything he had come to know, all his security, and he left following the guidance. But on his way leaving, God gave him 3 promises. You will be guided. You will be changed. Meaning, this is a transformational journey. You're going to be changed in this journey. And you will be blessed and a blessing. So yeah, you're going out in total uncertainty, and you're not going to know how it's going to turn out. And I'm going to show you later where you're going to be. But understand, you're going to be guided. And you're going to be grown, changed. And you're going to be blessed and a blessing. And so he did, and he wandered for a whole long time, 25 years, and finally he was shown where he was to be. And he had a son that he named Isaac. He and Sarai, who became Sarah. His name was changed to Abraham, which means father of many nations. And Sarai became Sarah. And when he was 100 and she was 90, they bore a son, Isaac, which means a chuckle. And of course, to have a son at 190, one is called to chuckle a little bit. It means laughter or a chuckle. But he became the father of the three major monotheisms: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Okay? So something bigger was being called for. And so this journey of acceptance is just like that. We get to say yes, not really knowing where we're going or what it's going to turn out to be. And so then the third phase is the leap. We finally accept, and then finally we go for it. We take the leap. This is the consummation of the great change, actually letting go and stepping into the process, starting that journey like Abram did before he knew where he was to go. And there, of course, are outer aspects of the leap. You sign the agreement, you clean out your office, you do this, you do that. But the inner leap is when you step outside of the routines and you step outside of the commonplace. You step outside of the customary, the habits. You step out into a new venue in some cases. And you start having experience. Outer, but mostly inner. The inner leap is the greatest leap. It's a surrendering. It's saying, okay, I'll go. I'll go into this, not with a sense that a lot is at risk, but a sense of I don't get to rely on the security devices that I usually rely on and get comfort from. I'm firmly in midair, as the phrase goes, firmly in midair, surrendering to the soul's calling to explore, to advance, and to reveal what I don't even know yet, to allow something larger to come forth through me, new facets of the gem of my soul. So we take the leap. So there's the calling, we finally quit fighting it and we say yes, then we take the leap. And then the fourth stage is a doozy, transition. This is where we realize that we are entering into liminal space, a space between. And we need to have this space between. Okay? One of the things that is typical is that making a big change decision and actually initiating it, the fearful ego wants to immediately figure everything out, replace everything as soon as possible, and create the context for new ruts and for new patterns. But the challenge with that is very often what gets created is simply a new revised version of what was. It doesn't honor the fact that we need to be still. This transition time is a time of shedding. I mean, we've spent years and years and years being children, being parents, being employees or entrepreneurs, of building up this and building up that. And we get to a space where we say, I'm going to step into something radically new. There needs to be a time when we shed the trappings and the clothes of that phase, that first half of life. And we need to go fallow for a while. This doesn't mean that we do absolutely nothing. It's just that we don't do things that so over-involve us that we neglect the really important part of this phase. Be quiet. Be with yourself. Explore. And it's also a phase of grieving, because to step into this newness, we usually grieve that I've made a change. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are becoming new. But we have to do that work. I went through intense grief during the first year after I retired. And that's a natural part of it. It's a natural part of it. And so we not only grieve, but we also more completely let go. I mean, in effect, we have let go by making the leap. But we can still cling or am I the only one? We can still kind of cling. And so this transition phase is where we coach ourselves, let go. I mean, so many times in the months after retirement, I'd be saying to Erica, you know what I'm worried about with the church is, da-da-da-da. And she said, did you retire or did you not? And so I got to continue to complete the let go in transition. But more than anything, it's a time of practicing stepping out of decades of a certain role, decades of certain ways of being, decades of certain patterns in life. And then just being with whatever would come forth when I shed that old skin and allowed that to happen. It's embracing a little less doingness and a whole lot more beingness. And sometimes in the first half of life, it's a whole lot of doingness, unless you've got a decidedly vibrant spiritual practice. There's a lot of doingness, and in this transition phase, we get to be with the being more. It's not, again, being totally inactive, but it's spending a lot of time in the silence. It's taking walks. It's being still. It's just being with yourself, with the full faith that the self, the spiritual self of you, the higher self, will reveal more of itself, as long as it's not pushed aside and overwhelmed by everything we think we know about ourselves. Nobody in here, me or anybody in here, really knows themselves fully, because we're beings, we're infinite beings. We know a little slice of the pie. You step into this phase and you say, okay, what newness can get revealed to me, much to my surprise? Another name for God, says Brother David Stendhal Rast, is surprise. And so the God within is ready to surprise us with new interests, new ways of being. So it's a time of healing, a time of deeper opening. For me, it was asking the question, who am I when I step outside of being senior minister of Mile High, or step outside of the formal ministry? Okay, who am I when I do that? Now, the thing is, not embracing this transition phase, what happens is people usually drift into lethargy or just a different version of the former chapter. And new and deeper dimensions of excitement and fulfillment get blocked. It's the rush to try to find new security rather than listening deeply and seeing what shows up in this magnificent, incredible being called you. Okay? I love this quote. It's always the same. Once you're liberated, you're forced to ask who you are. Once you're liberated, you're forced to ask who you are, because you're no longer prisoner in a certain way. So when you're outside of that has contained you, you get to ask, who am I? Who am I? And this is a transition phase. There's no book on how long it should last. But what I know is that it needs to be significant. It needs to be deep. And while we may get involved in certain things, we create a bunch of space because we know we're in a new discovery process, a shedding, a healing, and a discovery process. And we want to let it run its course. A lot of this comes from material that a guy named William Bridges wrote about in his book, Transitions, a couple of decades ago. Really great, great book. Give yourself the gift of a transition phase where you're willing to wander like Abram did until you realize. And then the fifth stage is revelations. Revelations. And that's not just a book in the Bible. It's a phase here. As we do this transition work, we begin to reveal deeper understanding. We begin to see road markers on the way, on our path. And what's dormant within begins to show us so that we can honor it. We become aware of a bigger expanse of life. And we have insights about ourselves that just couldn't get through when we were so busy or so into the ways of the former. And sometimes it's epiphanies, But it's all the revelations of the fruition of the solitude, the introspection, and the learning that we gift ourselves with. And that's a beautiful thing. Leading then to the final stage, and that is authentic newness. So this is the stage where, having said yes to this whole process, something deeply authentic begins to emerge. Facets of how we want to live and what we want to be about and what matters to us can begin to show up because we're no longer so congested with the remnants of the former. We've opened space. We've emptied to be filled. Okay? And so we begin a new phase of living deliberately, not from a fearful self trying to make everything just so, but from the behest of something deep within us that says, here's what I want to be about. Here's what matters to me now. Here's what matters to me now. It's to become re-enchanted and more on purpose than ever before in many cases. And also I notice that this way of newness is often found in new ways of service. It's often that people find things that matter to their hearts, that they care about, that they want to forward or help with in life. And again, this whole thing of transitions and then revelations and newness is really letting the heart open and guide us beyond what we think we know. So it's a beautiful path, and those are the stages. I must, in all honesty, share with you that I'm still in the revelatory and newness stage. I have a sense of it. These are not discrete paths. And one day you wake up and say, oh, I'm done with transitions, and today I'm entering revelations or anything like that. They flow together, okay? And yet for me, I'm still in that process of revealing even more and discovering how I want to be. Some of it is revealed, not all of it. All right? So, partners, time to huddle up again. So here again are the stages: the calling, acceptance, the leap, transition, revelations, and authentic newness. Think, each of you, think which of these stages gives me the most challenge? Or if you're on the cusp of this and you're considering such a change, do I feel would give me the most challenge? If you're in the flow of this whole thing, which of these stages is challenging me most challenging to me, or you suspect would be, whichever is the case? Which of the stages? And you're going to have a minute to share with your partner what that is and any insights you have at this point about what you feel the challenges of that one stage in particular would be for you. All right, person one, you're on the clock, a minute. What's that stage? All right, thank you, person one. Person two, you're on the clock. All right. Awesome. Thank you. This person too long-winded? Here. Yes. Ah. All right. What I want to go into now or what I've come to sense are 10 lifelines in this step of rewirement, whether you're anticipating it or fully in it as we speak. And how we're going to do this with partners is much, much shorter. I'm going to ask each of you as I go through each 10 to inwardly rank them from 1 to 5, 1 being least important to you or critical to you, and 5 being most important, most essential, most critical. And of course, 2 of the 3's medium, and 2 and 4, you can make them whatever you want. But you're going to rank each one of these from 1 being less important or critical to you, because maybe you're already doing some of that or whatever, but 5 being this is most essential or some gradation of that. And so after each one, you're just going to turn to each other, and I'm going to give you just like 15 seconds, and you each are going to just share your number. Here's how I'd rank this in terms of importance to me right now. Okay? All right, so here's how that's going to work. Now, the first one, the first lifeline in this whole thing is physical well-being. Now, I didn't really get this right away, but I began to notice that if I didn't start paying ultra good attention to my physical well-being, things were not going to go well. And so it dawned on me, you've got, among whatever gets revealed in your transition phase, you've got a job. And your job is to work on this body. And that's not an option. And it's not just a once in a while job. It's a major job of this stage, is to work on, support, and bless the body. It needs to become a non-negotiable commitment to all the aspects that can support it. Nutrition, rest, exercise. Yes, exercising. Yes. When I stepped into this whole area, a guy came up and he said, here's something you got to do in this, whatever you call this, rewirement thing. He said, keep moving. And move more. And he was right. So we resist this for some reason. We've been given these incredible body temples. Complex, amazing. I mean, there are days it just feels great and I never even think about it. And I forget to give thanks for it. Until my back goes out or something goes a little haywire and I realize. And so it dawned on me, that's one thing you can be doing that will support everything else, is get off your duff and get going. And start taking the care of this body it's deserved all along. Now, some of you have maybe been into this all the while, and you're going to be ahead of the game. But you know what? There's no time like the present. And most folks would tell you, if my dear friend James Rouse were here, next lifetime I want a body like his. If James were here, he would tell you, just start where you are. Start slow, but do it every day and just keep increasing. And more, it will cease being this awful thing you dread doing and become something that you actually enjoy doing. And it's also a part of moving the energies that supports the transition phase. Because sometimes it feels like you're lost. Sometimes it feels like you've lost a great friend. And it gets tough, and sometimes just the uncertainties get tough. But you need to move, and that helps. It helps move the energy. The goal ought to be to die healthy, don't you think? We're all going to let these bodies go. But neglect them, and the end chapter is going to be tough. Take care of them and give them the attention they deserve, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. And Erica and I have really leaned into that. We, much to our gratitude to a friend of ours, we found a small gym with computerized equipment and everything. We can get in and there, out of there in an hour. It's called Coco Fit. It's over on Kipling and Bellevue. and we just love it. And we've gotten so into it that we just can't wait. When we're done here, we're heading over there, but because we're enjoying it, and we've got the plan and everything, and we've got our naturopath, and so we dedicate resources and time to this because that's a part of a lifeline for a quality chapter in Re-Wirement. So I invite you to embrace that. Here's a quote that Albert Schweitzer came up with. He said, "Happiness, that's nothing more than health and a poor memory." The key thing being health. Number two, okay, so turn to your partner and think, what's your ranking of importance? 1 being, got it handled. 5, I got to hit this. So choose 1 to 5, where on the scale is, and just turn to your partner and share which number it is. Okay, good. Lifeline number 2, relationships. Maximize relationships. One of the greatest dangers of moving into this phase is that individuals walk away from a certain base of friendship or associations, and they begin to isolate. Dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. Now, it's inevitable that perhaps your circles of friends will change, or the people you're hanging around with will change. So it's important then to maintain valuable relationships and nurture them, or deepen the existing relationships that are key in your life. And that's another great opportunity in this rewirement, is that you can bring even greater quality to your relationship with significant others, with children, grandchildren. You can make that a part of, no matter what other calling surfaces for you, you can pour more love and time and interest and energy into those relationships. And then you can create new circles of friends. And sometimes that means you got to get out of your comfort zone. Try new things, be in different arenas where you meet different people, be intentional. But the whole thing is stay connected, because those who isolate decline into depression, usually. Stay connected and make it an agenda that you really tend to. A lady named William Askinus wrote, "A friend is someone who sees through you and still enjoys the view." So you need to keep those friendships enlivened. Keep relationships going. All right, rank this for yourself. Where is it? 1 to 5. Turn to your partner and share where this is or you think will be for you. All right. Number 3, lifeline. Get involved. Get involved. It's important to find involvements that matter and enjoy them. Short of tying yourself down and closing the door to deep newness. But we need to stay involved. It's much like relationships. We need to stay in the milieu to a degree and find things that matter, but still give you room to reveal that there may be a whole new spectrum of how you live your life that's going to reveal itself. New talents, new interests, whatever. But you stay involved. And the great ways to do that here at Mile High Church in so many ways. It's a great place to serve. When I retired, there was about a year where I began the transition phase, and then all of a sudden, COVID happened. And I find my transition phase getting extended. But we all during COVID had to get more intentional with our relationships and find safe ways of meeting or Zoom connections. We had many a Zoom happy hour that we had with various friends. Don't sit there looking pious at me. I know you probably did the same thing. Yeah. And then it just, then the newness started happening within me. And I realized, you're still here to serve. Find another way. And that's when I created Roger Teel Ministries, because I realized that in leading Mile High, I was blessed with this enormous, wonderful congregation, but I seldom got the chance to do classes for less than 70 people. It was a rarity. And those are the meditation retreats. And most every other class was many, many more people, and that was all fine and good. But I found I discovered that I really loved small group work, like 10, 12, and even individual work. And that I found myself really adept at that. And I thought, okay, I want to do that. That fires my soul. So that's what I do. I do small group work and then individual mentoring, and I'm loving it. And COVID helped me understand that there's a way to do that with Zoom, which I do the lion's share of my work on Zoom. And then I have the opportunity to help out Mile High and what I'm doing here and the retreats and speaking on occasion and all of that. So I've got room in my life, but I've got involvements that matter. And that's why I'm encouraging you to have those things. Maybe there's a cause that you're passionate about, and you can lend it some of your energy and feel the joy of that, while you also give your space to continue your transition, if that's what's the case. So think about that. Involvements that you care about, that nourish you. How would you rank them? 1, you got that handled? 5, this is really critical for me, or somewhere in between. Okay, where is that for you? Turn your partner. Let them share. Okay. Good. Number 4, explore slowing down. Explore the power of slowing down, the opportunity, the gift, perhaps, of slowing down. In my ministerial life, I would often feel lucky if I got away with a 60-hour week. And it was go, 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 and I loved the work, and Erica and I got intentional about how we could give time to our marriage and time to our kids and grandkids, but it was jam-packed. And then I stepped into Re-Wirement, and I found a part of me was still, what's next? I mean, hey, we got all this time, and I had to work with myself. I had to work with myself to make it okay to slow down. I had to develop an aptitude for leisure. And I was like a fish out of water for a while. And it was a part of the discomfort that the transition phase was allowing me to engage in, is that, okay, type A, slow the heck down so that you can be and listen and find that there's just as much richness in a slow walk as in a jog, so to speak. You know, that it's okay. It's okay to do less and be more. It's okay. And I found that after a while, I got pretty good at it, such that there were many a days I didn't know what day it was. And I'd have to ask Erica. Now, when you're in the ministry, everything's coordinated around each Sunday, so you know exactly what the day is. But you know, I got to slow down, and there's a certain joy about that. It doesn't mean that you're just a slug laying around doing nothing, because you have involvement, you got relationships, but also there's another way of walking with a greater grace and a greater ease and a greater receptivity, which means that everything has an opportunity to show you more of itself, because you're not going 90 to nothing. all the time. So rank this for you. How do you do with leisure? How do you do with slowing down? 1 through 5. Share with your partner. All right. Lifeline number 5. Amplify your spiritual life. Turn up the energy, the volume, the time, the attention on your spiritual life. Alice Meynell wrote this quote, "Happiness is not a matter of events. It depends on the tides of the mind." Now, that's nothing new to all of us who are Science of Mind and Spirit students. But this is a real opportunity to lavish ourselves in the spiritual life, to increase our spiritual study, spiritual reading perhaps. Enjoy more meditation and prayer, and make it a part of the richness of it all. And some new classes in this, or even old classes that you've taken before, but you realize there's new depth in them for me. And I will have that. I taught our initial Science of Mind class probably over 150 times. And every single time it took me deeper. Because the principles may be basic, but they're not elementary. They have this enormous depth to them. So take some classes, be a receiver. New classes. You're in the treasure trove of them all right here. The array of classes and opportunities here at Mile High Church is extraordinary. And I hope you know how great a blessing this is. Give that to yourself. Enjoy that. And there's an element also that I think is very, very important, and it's spiritual community. It is one of the great spiritual practices. And I fear that in the COVID experience, there has been a slowness to return to realizing the power of spiritual community. Now, you're all here today, and I'm preaching to the choir, although some of you watching, who knows. There's nothing like being here. Am I right? The message you can get, and sometimes that's the only way. I understand and value that. And part of the other good news about the incredible interline and streaming network that the church has since COVID is that people all around the world now watch Mile High Church. And where possible, it's important to be here, or wherever they are, wherever you are, if you're watching from afar, find a way to enter into spiritual community. Because there's a degree of spiritual advancement that can't be had in isolation. You can read, you can pray, you can do all of that alone. But all the great paths have recognized that there's another facet that brings it home, and that's community, spiritual community. All right? In Buddhism, for instance, it speaks of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Buddha, the enlightened state, the Dharma, the practices, and the Sangha, the community. And so in so many ways, every path says there's something about, as Jesus said, where two or more are gathered in my nature. There the I am is in the midst of you. And so that's another aspect of amplifying your spiritual life, is to regularly bless yourself with the growth power of spiritual community. And let's not forget an aspect of that is nature. To spend some more time in nature. Enjoy nature more as a part of the spiritual enrichment process. Henry David Thoreau said we can never have enough of nature. We can never have enough. It feeds us just as the spiritual life does. So amplify your spiritual life. 1 through 5, how about for you? Where is that in terms of what's to be emphasized? 1 through 5, share with your partner there.
So if we could just exercise at church, we'd be good.
All right, very good. Number 6, lifeline number 6. Experiment. 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 This is a time where it's really important to try new things. Now, there's a part of us that says, that's risky. I could get embarrassed, or I might not do well. Well, at this stage in life, who really cares? Who really cares, ultimately? Don't fall into this trap. Lawrence J. Peter wrote, retirement is the time when you never do all the things you intended to do once you'd have the time. And for some folks, sadly, that's the truth. But then I like what Ruth Friedman wrote, only those who dare truly live. So this rewirement phase is not a time to crawl into some cocoon and hide out. It's actually a time to be out there more in whatever ways work for you and are appropriate for you, to risk for newness, to intentionally try new things, to even consider what in your first chapter, first half of life you would have thought was outrageous. I just don't do that. Ever thought of giving it a go? There's the possibilities are endless if we put our creative minds to work. I mean, it could be having more movies, reading more books. It could be going to flea markets. It could be getting into politics if that's your gig. It could be swimming, tennis, pickleball. Everybody's doing that. Chess, golf, walks, volunteering. Take some classes. Join the Mile High Choir, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You could take some classes. Acting classes. Some of you are actors in the making. I know that. Maybe it's music lessons or art. Maybe it's writing. Maybe it's wine tasting. I'm up for that. Road trips, cruises, rent a cottage somewhere. Go visit friends. Improv classes with Erica. She just happens to have an improv for introverts class. You don't have to be an introvert, but most of you are and just are in denial. But you can, improv for introverts, September 16th it starts, 4 Saturdays from 10 to noon. Most of the people who go to that are scared like crazy for about 10 minutes. And then they're having so much fun, they're deeply aggrieved when the class is over. What have you got to lose? Give it a go. I'm actually getting ready to take bluegrass fiddle lessons. Yeah. I figure, in addition to banjo, another way to make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Or some might say, oh my God, banjo and more racket. But you know what? Whatever floats your boat. But experiment. Experiment. And the ultimate...
I said, can this be a community vote?
A community vote. Erica would love that, I'm sure. Experiment. Challenge yourself. Stretch. Number 1 to 5. Rank this puppy and share with your partner. 1 through 5 for you. Has life been same old, same old? Is it time to experiment? Number 7. Number 7. And this isn't so much born of my own personal experience, but of things I've read, some of which have saddened me and I've heard of. Stay in touch with your finances in this area. It's important to make wise choices in this area, and most important to avoid scams and get-rich-quick schemes, and make sure you've got trusted people that you can check things out with before you leap into things that may be offered. But here's the other deal. It's important to stay tuned into your abundance consciousness. It's important to do 2 things. Keep your tithing or your systematic giving going. Because I tell you, if there isn't circulation, there's decay. So you keep the tithing going, but you also balance it by being a wise steward. They both can work together. Keep your abundance consciousness strong, because in many ways, some of the new things that come through for you can be openings to many great new resources you never know. But you want to have this balance of a good abundance consciousness, working with the energy flows of life, and being a good steward in your life. And by the way, though, it's okay to spend some of the money you've saved. It's okay. I mean, some have said, I'm going to spend everything, and the kids are just going to have to do all right on their own. But whatever the case. And remember that the foundation is an opportunity as you look at your finances to consider the legacy that you can be a part of, and feel the sense of the joy of philanthropy and of knowing that money is wisely stewarded and that only its income is used to support other activities and ministries here, but that it's going to be an ongoing gift that strengthens and empowers our church. So consider the foundation in that. 1 through 5, how does this sit for you? Share with your partner. All right, number 8. Number 8, avoid lifeless diversions. Avoid lifeless diversions. These are activities that may have a little bit of enjoyment, but they drain aliveness. They're often we go to them as an avoidance to experimenting, an avoidance of reaching out and saying, let's have dinner with a friend, or enhancing a relationship. Often the things like excess TV, social media, anything veg out. Avoid that. Avoid getting stuck in that and making that a part of your lifestyle. Susan Ertz wrote, many long for immortality who don't know what to do on a rainy Sunday afternoon. So by all means, what gives me life? And how can I just lean into the fear and get beyond it and expand my life rather than, because we're either expanding or contracting, gang, one or the other. Which are you? 1 through 5. How about this one? Lifeless diversions. Okay. Number 9, keep learning. Keep learning. Whatever ways, whatever subjects, stretch into new understanding, new areas. There are great college courses around for this chapter of life. I love it's been written, be a learner first, be a master second, and remain a student forever. I think that's what adds fuel and energy and opportunity, is to start learning about things you've never even considered learning about, but now you have the opportunity, perhaps the time. Rank this from 1 to 5 for you. Are you a lifelong learner? And Mile High offers so many great courses as well. All right, then the last one, the 10th lifeline. Stay unbounded. Stay unbounded. Don't let yourself get thrown into a trap. I mean, sometimes I've heard of individuals, they take this step, and then others around them, sometimes family, rush in to recreate their life for them. Oh, here's what you need to be doing, and you can do this, and you can become our free nanny now, or you can, things like that. And you know what? You've got to this place, and you deserve your freedom, and you deserve your options. How about staying unbounded? Keep declaring freedom from the past. Freedom from your old ways of being, your quirks and uniquenesses, from the roles you used to play. And freedom to make your own choices. A dear friend, former board member here, went out to lunch with me shortly after I took that step. And he said, I give you a 4-word phrase that I use as my guiding light in this journey. And I want you to have them, and I want you now to have them. His 4 words, on my own terms. I will make choices and I will do things on my own terms. Yeah, you deserve to live that deliberately. On your own terms. Stay unbounded. Watch out for those who would like to tie you down to certain areas of life before they're naturally ones you choose. And stay unbounded from all the age stuff. I love it that I think it was Eric Butterworth says, my age is none of my business. And George Burns, I'll put this one, he says, retirement at 65 is ridiculous. When I was 65, I still had pimples. And Pablo Picasso, he said, age only matters when one is aging. Now that I have arrived at a great age, I might just as well be 20. Because you can think like that. I don't feel my age. I don't, thankfully. Here's a great book I encourage you to have. And it depends on if this is age appropriate for you. But it's by Stephen Petro, Stupid Things I Won't Do When I Get Old. This is a great book, short chapters. But I want to read you just some of the chapter titles, among many, just a few I've selected. And again, these are short, but very important. And in Stupid Things I Won't Do Today, one of them is I won't color my hair, even if it worked for Diane Sawyer, he says. One is I won't limit myself to friends my own age when I get old. Number 42, page 42 is I won't lie about my age, even on dating apps. He puts in parentheses. Oh, I love this one. He says, I won't join the organ recital. Now that's when people of a certain age get together and they all start talking about their body quirks. And my back's hurting me, and then I got this and I got this. When I get old, I won't join the organ recital. Another chapter, I won't become a miserable malcontent, a cranky curmudgeon, or a surly sourpuss. Meaning when I get old, I'm not just going to be a moving complaint vehicle. Another one, I won't pass up the chance to pee. Even when I don't have to. Another, I won't lie to my doctor anymore. Because these lies can kill, in parentheses. Oh, I love this. I won't refuse to change my ways. I won't tell my life story when someone asks, how are you? Then there's another section is Stupid Things I Won't Do Tomorrow. I think this is important. I won't keep driving when I become a threat to others. Another, I won't wait until I'm deaf to get a hearing aid. I won't burden my family with taking care of me. I won't whine about how much things cost. Oh, I love this. I won't turn my house into a sweat lodge. And I've had a personal experience in that area. And then the part, not in our home, but otherwise. And part 3 is Stupid Things I Won't Do at the end. And I'm going to read all these 7 chapters. They're so beautiful. I won't depart this life without somebody holding my hand. I won't let anything stop me from saying I love you and goodbye. I won't postpone for tomorrow what matters to me today. I won't let anyone else write my obituary. I won't forget to plan my own funeral. I won't die without writing letters to my loved ones. And finally, I won't be disappointed by my life. This is great stuff. And so here we are in this whole thing of rewirement. And I pray that this has been supportive of you, whether you're in this or contemplating it. And it's never too late to reinvigorate and allow the Spirit to bless our lives and allow ourselves to become more of that which is woven into the fabric of our being. All right. So now, with that concluded, and I'm apologizing that I don't think we have time for dialogue, but I do have time for the door prizes. So, and other forces beyond me, including, but not limited to Mark Pino, our development director for the foundation, has selected 5 winners, each receiving 2 tickets to the event that I described earlier. And so the first winner is Brad Peterman. Brad, where are you? Okay, Brad, stand up and see Mark in the back. Mark, stand up, please. Mark Pino, see him when we disperse, okay? The next is Debbie Phillips. Oh, right down here in front. Debbie, congratulations. Mark is in the back. He's waving at you, okay? Mark Keene. Outstanding, Mark. Congratulations. The next is Kathy Shelton. Hey, beautiful. Finally, in the in-person group, Steve Meyer. Beautiful, Steve. You can get those from Mark in the back there. And now online, and I have no idea how they're going to get them to you, but I know they've got a way. Eve Fain, congratulations. You have 2 tickets as a door prize. And Rob Pekarsky. I know you, Rob, former AV tech here. Great guy, Rob. You have 2 tickets coming to you. All right. Thank you for this opportunity. I hope this has been supportive of you, valuable. Keep growing. I sure am. Have an incredible afternoon.